And what if the pain you feel right now isn't the end, but the silent sign of a new beginning written before time itself? What if everything you've never been able to explain, the sudden exhaustion, the feeling of being out of place, the restlessness that sneaks in even during peaceful moments, is actually an ancient calling, awakened only in the chosen ones? There are people who carry invisible yet real marks, marks the world doesn't understand, but the spirit does. And among these marks, two have been revealing themselves more intensely in 2025, the letter M and the crescent moon, which mysteriously appear on the hands or in recurring dreams, like seals announcing a lost spiritual lineage. If you've ever noticed one of these marks on yourself, or if something within you vibrates when you hear about them, then this message didn't just find you. It called you, because there are codes that only awaken when the soul is ready to remember who it is. And you, chosen one, have not been forgotten. Maybe you've tried to fit in. Maybe you've learned to smile even when everything was screaming inside you. Maybe you've believed for a while that something was wrong with your sensitivity, your intensity, your unique way of feeling the world. But what if, contrary to everything you were told, that sensitivity is exactly the portal to the sacred? What if you're not broken, but in the process of activation? What you are about to hear is not just a beautiful theory, it is a vibrational field, a reminder, a frequency that, once touched, can't be forgotten, because it comes from the same source that has pulsed in you since the beginning. And Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the guardian of time, the architect of wisdom, spoke about this code. He called it the vibrational key of being, a power that was never taken from you, only asleep. And now, it awakens. If this message touched you, comment now, "I am chosen." And if you feel this truth, subscribe to the channel right now. You are chosen, and you didn't find this by accident. Prepare yourself, because by the end of this journey, the world around you won't look the same, and neither will you. There is a place within you that no one has ever touched, not because it was hidden, but because the world taught you to look everywhere but there. It is not located in your appearance, your achievements, your name, or your past. It does not depend on validation, success, or attention. It is the sacred center, and when this center is intact, everything flows. But when it fractures, silently, slowly, subtly, the whole reality begins to bend, as if the external world were breaking apart without explanation. What most people never realize is that their entire life is built upon what they believe about themselves when no one is watching. That belief, silent, almost invisible, becomes the architecture of destiny. Thoth called this the inner throne, the vibrational seat of sovereignty. And it is from that seat that your field radiates or collapses. You might have spent years blaming the chaos outside, trying to fix your circumstances, manage your image, or prove your worth. But all along, the shift was never supposed to come from the surface. It was always a matter of reconnection, a returning to the point from which all power flows. Chosen ones marked with the letter M or the crescent moon are often pulled toward this truth early in life, even if they don't yet have the language for it. They feel things others dismiss. They sense when something is off, even if it looks fine on the outside. They walk into a room and feel the energy shift. They carry an invisible memory, one that the world tries to erase, of who they were before the forgetting. And what they're being called to now is to remember, not through knowledge, but through frequency. Because no amount of external information can replace internal coherence. When you are rooted in this sacred point, this original code of self-recognition, you stop leaking energy. You stop shrinking under judgment. You stop bending your truth to be accepted. Your posture changes. Your silence carries weight. Your gaze becomes magnetic, not because you are performing, but because you are finally aligned. People may not understand what it is, but they feel it. It's not arrogance. It's presence. It's not loud. It's sovereign. This is not the love that seeks approval. This is not the self-esteem that depends on applause. This is what Thoth called internal governance. And in his own words, he who does not rule his own field will be ruled by the field of others. That truth is more relevant now than ever, because in a world where opinions scream and illusions seduce, those who carry this code are not meant to blend in. They are meant to hold frequency, but that frequency cannot be faked. It cannot be mimicked. It is born from the silent decision to no longer betray yourself, to no longer abandon your own knowing, to stop looking outward for what was placed inward before you were even born. And yet, this is only the beginning. There is something more dangerous than chaos, something more corrosive than the loudest conflict. It's the quiet erosion, the slow, invisible unraveling of your peace. Not the peace of a quiet afternoon or a checked-off to-do list, but the sacred peace that holds your spirit in place when the world shakes, the kind that cannot be explained, only felt. That anchors you when everything else tries to pull you out of yourself. That peace, when lost, does not make a sound. But it takes everything with it, and most of the time, you don't even notice it leaving. It's stolen in the same conversation that repeats for the 5th time, in the tone of a voice that cuts you down without using a single insult, in the scroll, through a perfect life on a screen that whispers you're behind, that you're not enough, in the silent guilt you carry for not doing more, being more, proving more. These tiny vibrational robberies don't knock you over all at once. They don't even look like danger, but they are. Because they are what dull your clarity. They are what cloud your intuition. And eventually, they are what break your ability to choose consciously. Peace is the gateway to power. Without it, you are reactive. You're jumpy, defensive, exhausted. And your nervous system stays in survival mode even when nothing is happening. A look, a comment, a delay, anything becomes a trigger. And soon your field is no longer yours. It's a battlefield, and a battlefield cannot create. It can only defend. That's when the greatest spiritual reversal occurs. Your soul steps back, and your mind takes over. But the mind in defense is not your friend. It's a loop machine, a magnifier of pain, a critic with no pause. And the longer you live from that state, the further you drift from your power. Because you can't access your creative force when your energy is busy scanning for threats. Thoth warned of this. He said the outer world is not just a reflection, it is a teacher. What provokes you, what irritates you, what pulls you out of alignment, reveals exactly where your peace is still negotiable. And here lies the paradox. This is not fixed by trying harder. It's not a matter of force. It's a matter of awareness. 2. Begin healing, you must become the sacred witness, the one who breathes instead of reacts, the one who observes instead of absorbs, the one who remembers, I am not what I feel. I am the one who feels it. This shift doesn't change the world outside you, but it changes your frequency. And that is what begins to shift the world that responds to you. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt your peace being drained by 1,000 silent cuts, then leave your mark below. Comment. I choose peace over reaction. It's not just a sentence, it's a recalibration. It's the moment your energy says, this ends here. There comes a moment, often unnoticed, when your life is no longer something you're creating, but something you're simply reacting to. A moment when your mornings feel like rehearsals of the same old scenes, just with different faces. When your responses become so automatic that you no longer question where they came from, or who you became while repeating them. You say yes when you mean no. You smile when you want to scream. You comply not because you agree, but because confrontation exhausts you, and slowly the field of your being is no longer sovereign. It's conditioned by survival patterns you never chose but learned to wear like armor. And the weight of that armor, it's what keeps you from flying. This is the pattern of the unconscious loop, a cycle so familiar, so rehearsed, that it starts to look like personality. But it isn't. It's a memory, an energetic memory, of every moment you felt powerless, and the automatic response you created to avoid feeling that way again. But here's the cruel twist. The defense becomes the prison, because the more you protect yourself from life, the less alive you feel. Thoth understood this as the danger of vibrational stagnation. The moment the field stops expanding and starts shrinking, the moment reaction replaces creation. And in that state, even the most sacred truths become unreachable, not because they're far, but because your frequency can no longer perceive them. If every time you're triggered you react the same way, then no matter how much you change, your job, your relationship, your city, your life won't change, because you haven't changed the energy that creates it. And frequency is the true author of reality. As Thoth said, frequency creates the field creates the experience. This is where many chosen ones get stuck. They know they carry something different. They feel the pull towards something higher, but they're caught in the emotional web of reactivity and the weight of past stories. They think they're moving forward, but inside they're still negotiating with the same fears, still trying to be loved by the same kind of wound. And life becomes repetition, disguised as progress. But what if you stopped? What if instead of reacting you could pause, not from suppression, not from fear, but from awareness? The moment between the trigger and the response, that space, is holy. That space is where your power lives. That is where the code of transformation begins. Not because you've become enlightened, but because you've stopped handing your soul over to reflex. And in that pause, a door opens. Shall we walk through it together? Before you can change your life, you must become conscious of everything you're allowing into it. Not just the people, not just the situations, but the frequencies, the vibrations that you absorb without noticing. Because what you allow eventually shapes what you radiate out. It seems harmless at first. A song you listen to when you're tired. A video you watch to unwind. A snack you grab to cope. But all of it has a frequency. And every frequency is either aligning you or distorting you. Every lyric, every image, every bite, it enters your field, and your field is not passive. It remembers. Imagine your energetic field as a sacred temple. Everything that enters becomes a visitor. Some bring light, others leave dust. Some elevate you, others drain you. And while you may not feel the shift immediately, your nervous system does. Your clarity does. Your emotional baseline does. And little by little, you begin to carry energies that were never yours. This is not moralism. This is vibrational intelligence. You are not just what you feel. You are also what you permit. And when you permit noise, fear, bitterness, and drama in subtle doses day after day, they start becoming your emotional default, not because they belong to you, but because they've been echoing in your subconscious like background mantras. Thoth taught that the visible and the invisible mirror one another. As above, so below. As within, so without. And that truth applies to consumption as well. The food you eat, the sounds you hear, the images you absorb, they all feed your inner temple. They become the silent architects of your frequency. This is why so many people feel heavy, even when they haven't done anything physical. Why they feel anxious without cause. Why their minds race and their motivation fades. It's not just emotional, it's energetic. Their fields are saturated with vibrations they never filtered, because no one taught them that everything speaks. And here's what almost no one will tell you. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about banning everything. It's about choosing with awareness. You're not here to become a monk in a cave. You're here to be a guardian of your field, to decide consciously who and what has the right to enter your temple. And when you begin to choose differently, not out of fear, but from sovereignty, the shift is immediate. Your mind sharpens. Your body responds. Your intuition awakens. You begin to realize that the restlessness you called normal wasn't you. It was noise. But that noise has an antidote, and it starts with choice. There is a part of your soul that cannot be healed through thinking, analyzing, or even understanding. A part that doesn't respond to logic, to plans, or to structure. This part only opens through creation. Raw, spontaneous, sacred creation. The kind that flows not from the mind, but from the soul's need to move, to express, to breathe. You were never meant to only consume. You were born to emit. And every time you suppress your creative instinct, not just artistic but spiritual, your energy begins to stagnate. You feel stuck, numb, uninspired. Not because life lost its meaning, but because you stopped participating in it as a creator. Thoth never called it art. He called it sacred transformation. He taught that the human who dares to express without seeking perfection or approval opens a portal that many temples cannot reach. Because it's not about what you make, it's about what you move. A gesture, a sound, a word, a dance, a drawing. Even if it's messy, even if no one sees it, especially if no one sees it. That space where you allow yourself to express freely is a forgotten channel of divine healing. And yet, it's the most abandoned. We were taught that creating just because is a waste of time, that if it doesn't bring profit or praise, it has no value. But that is one of the greatest lies ever told, because when you create for no reason, you bypass the prison of performance. You step out of the mind's logic and into the field of the soul. And in that field there is no right or wrong. There is only energy, movement, flow, and in flow, the spirit returns home. This is why so many illnesses are emotional, so many conflicts are energetic. So much suffering is the result of unexpressed energy that never had space to move. What therapy can't reach, creation can. What medicine can't solve, art can dissolve. But it has to be pure, not forced, not compared, not evaluated, just felt, just released. You don't need to be an artist, you don't need talent. You only need the willingness to give your energy a voice in whatever form it chooses. Your soul isn't asking for performance, it's asking for presence, for a brushstroke, a hum, a whisper, a rhythm, anything that breaks the stillness of suppressed light. Creation is a river. Block it, and it rots. Let it flow, and it heals everything it touches. If you've ever felt the ache of something wanting to move through you, to speak through your hands, to dance through your skin, then this is your moment. Comment, I am ready to create again. Let that be your vow, not to the world, to your field, to your spirit. Because in that space, healing is no longer an effort, it's a return. And now, we move even closer to the center. There is a fundamental tension at the core of your being, one that pulls you in two directions at once. The mind craves certainty. The spirit craves freedom. The mind wants to plan, predict, guarantee, and control. It wants to know how, when, and why. But the spirit, it doesn't move through answers. It moves through alignment. It doesn't follow maps. It follows feeling. And that's why so many people feel stuck, even when they're doing all the right things, because they've built lives approved by logic, but starved of soul. They've lit the path with plans, but forgotten the flame of trust. They've opened the mind so wide that they've closed the heart. And when the heart is closed, nothing flows. The truth is, you cannot control your way into miracles. Miracles don't follow formulas. They're not the result of perfect steps. They arrive through openings, through surrender, through the quiet decision to stop clenching, stop striving, and start holding space for the unknown. The tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers, like trying to hold wet sand. Thoth taught that divine will is not a force that pushes. It's a current that flows, and it can only be felt when you stop trying to direct it and instead allow it to move you. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming attuned to the vibration of what you want to receive, even when the path to it remains invisible. This is the paradox that reshapes reality. You don't receive what you force. You receive what you're aligned with. You don't have to know the steps. You have to know the frequency. You don't have to beg. You have to become. Surrender is not giving up. It's choosing not to settle. It's knowing what's non-negotiable within you and refusing to compromise it, even when the form is unclear. Because when you are rooted in your essence, the wind may shake you, but it will not break you. Opening up isn't about letting in everything. It's about releasing what was never meant to be carried. It's the art of clearing space, not just externally, but vibrationally. Because only in spaciousness can the spirit speak, and it's in that silence that something ancient begins to answer. When everything around you begins to shift, and the world demands you to conform, what remains? What holds you in place when every voice pulls you in a different direction, when opportunities knock but require a price that wounds your soul? The answer is not found in confidence, ambition, or cleverness. It is found in something far more ancient, far more incorruptible, your values. Not the ones you were taught to say, but the ones your spirit has always carried, even before you could name them. They are the invisible pillars holding your field in place, the silent compass that points you back to your essence every time the noise of the world tries to drown it out. Values are not ideals. They are anchors. They are what you refuse to trade, even when no one is watching. They are the sacred no that protects your inner truth. They are the unshakable yes to what aligns with your soul, even when it costs comfort, status, or approval. This is why so many people feel lost, even in lives that look successful on the outside. Because somewhere along the way, they traded clarity for compromise. They said yes when their soul whispered no. They silenced the discomfort instead of honoring it as guidance. And each time they did, they stepped further away from themselves. Thoth spoke clearly about this. He said, "Without inner law, the soul becomes a foreigner in its own temple." Meaning, without clear, lived values, even your own life starts to feel unfamiliar. You walk through your days like a guest, performing, pleasing, negotiating, instead of living as the sovereign you were meant to be. And here is the truth that frees or terrifies. No one can define those values for you. They are not given by culture. They are not taught in school. They are not inherited from family. They are recognized, reclaimed, remembered, and once remembered, they demand embodiment. Because the moment you live in contradiction to what you know is true, your energy fractures. This is why many chosen ones, especially those marked with sacred signs like the M and the crescent moon, find themselves in deep tension when surrounded by what seems normal. It's because what is common no longer resonates. The old permissions no longer feel clean. The invitations from the world come wrapped in expectations that feel heavy, not holy. And that's the test. Will you abandon yourself again to be accepted? Or will you choose this time to stand, not as defiance but as devotion? Because when you live from your values, you stop seeking clarity, and you become it. There is a kind of power that doesn't need to be seen to be real. It doesn't shout, it doesn't fight, it doesn't seek to prove. It simply is, and that power is vibrational choice. Long before you speak, before you act, before you even form a thought, you are already choosing. Through frequency, through presence, through the silent yes or no your field emits with every breath. This is the choice that defines your destiny, not in grand declarations, but in the energy you agree to hold. Because your vibration is not just a reaction to life. It is a vote, and the universe listens. Many live convinced they're victims of fate, unaware that every time they tolerate something misaligned, they are silently instructing reality to continue sending more of the same. Not because they deserve it, but because they haven't yet remembered they can choose something else. And choice, real, embodied, vibrational choice, is the moment you stop responding to life and start creating it again. Thoth taught that manifestation doesn't begin with doing. It begins with being. That what you attract is not a reward for effort, but a reflection of alignment. You don't draw in what you want. You draw in what you are. And what you are is what you continuously choose to hold, especially when no one is watching and especially when it's hard. You say you want peace. But do you choose it in your thoughts when conflict arises? You say you want love, but do you embody it even when the world feels cold? You say you want freedom, but do you release control long enough to receive it? These are not philosophical questions. They are energetic crossroads. And every moment you become aware of the choice before you, the timeline shifts, not by force, but by resonance, because the field always responds to coherence, not desire, not desperation, not effort, only coherence. This is why the most powerful beings often appear quiet, grounded, undisturbed. Not because they have no emotion, but because their center is no longer for sale. They no longer vibrate according to other people's chaos. They hold the line. They govern the field. And in doing so, they become the architects of their reality. And so the question becomes, can you hold the vibration of what you know is true, even when everything around you begs you to abandon it? Can you choose, again and again, not from fear, not from habit, but from alignment? Because this is the choice that changes everything. There comes a moment in every awakened soul's journey when they stop searching and begin remembering. Not because they've found all the answers, but because they've realized the answers were never meant to be hunted, only heard, in stillness, in alignment, in the field of presence that has always lived beneath the bars. That presence is not a performance. It cannot be taught, nor gifted, nor granted by anyone else. It is what remains when all the illusions are burned away. It is the code you were born with. You may have lost things, people, opportunities. Time. You may have been misunderstood, rejected, diminished. You may have walked through seasons of silence so deep that even your prayers felt like echoes. But despite all of it, something in you remained. Something unshaken, something holy. That something is the truth of who you are. It is what Thoth called the essence, the vibration that cannot be taken, only forgotten. And when you forget, the world begins to own you. It starts to name you, shape you, tell you who you must be. But the moment you remember, really remember, that you carry a field no one else can command, the illusion collapses. You stop reacting. You stop pleasing. You stop waiting to be chosen. You realize you were always the chooser. And from that remembrance, everything changes. Not because the outer world suddenly becomes perfect, but because you no longer look to it for permission. You don't have to beg life to treat you differently when your energy declares your worth without a word. You don't have to chase respect when your presence commands it. You don't have to force alignment when you've already become it. You were never meant to be defined by your trauma. You were never meant to prove yourself to the world. You were never meant to be small enough to fit someone else's expectations. You were meant to emanate, and those marked with sacred symbols, the letter M, the crescent moon, you are not marked by accident. Those codes are not decorative. They are signatures, proof of remembrance, indicators of a contract deeper than memory, a contract to awaken first, so that others may awaken through you. That's why you couldn't forget. That's why the pain never fully silenced you. That's why the system could never tame your essence. Because you are not of it. You are of the field that transcends it. Thoth didn't come to give instructions. He came to ignite what was dormant, to remind you that the true path is not paved. It is revealed through resonance, that you don't have to master a technique, memorize mantras, or become perfect. You only have to choose, moment after moment, to return to your center. The divine does not demand performance. It seeks coherence. It responds to your being, not your effort. So if your presence feels heavier now, it's not a burden. It's power awakening. If your clarity feels like solitude, it's not loneliness. It's alignment. If your truth is shaking your foundations, let them fall. What's being built now is eternal. Chosen one, if you've made it here, truly here, then know this wasn't coincidence. This was timing, sacred timing. You didn't just hear a message. You remembered a code. You didn't just watch a video. You crossed a threshold. And what has been remembered cannot be unremembered. So declare it now, not with fear, but with, I have a divine power, and no one can take it from me. This phrase is not a comment, it is a key. And every time you repeat it, you recalibrate the field, you transmit the frequency, you activate others still lost in the fog. And now that you've returned to your center, you are no longer a seeker. You are no longer a reflection. You are the field, you are the vibration that was always meant to reshape reality. And the world is beginning to feel your presence.